gosh, what a wonderful day for club rugby. It was the centenary of the great old Wesley Club, and they were in a bit of a golden era. Halcyon days indeed for this club. They went on to a couple of Leinster Senior Cup finals, runners-up in the All-Ireland League. They won the Floodlit Cup, and they really had a fine bunch of players who all happened to come together at the same time. And for this particular game, they had a monstrous pack of forwards. Guys like John Feehan, who was like a barn door at tight head, the toughest cheek Steve Mooney at hooker, and Henry Hurley went on to become an Irish international, who previously worked as a guard dog down at an industrial estate in Arklow. He was a fine player. In the second row, Alan Hunt, who looked like the sort of fella you saw still standing as an extra on the Antiques Roadshow, and he was partnered by Big Dave Bursey, who had a busy year that year. He was still studying for his leaving certificate. He was repeating a couple of subjects. He was 28 at the time. They had a great back row as well. They'd Christopher Pem, who was physical, to put it mildly, on the flank. And Robert Love managed to get his place on the other flank. It was a tight call at open shot flanker. Masterson was injured. John Dunlop was away. Roger Thomas unavailable. Declan Keane unavailable. So eventually they plumped for Love, who was he was better known in junior rugby. And I'll let George Hook talk to you about the rest of the pack. Well, this was a wonderful pack of forwards, like they were brilliantly marshalled by the great Andrew Blair. This fella was a wonderful footballer. There wasn't huge vision in the rest of his back row, but this way was the brains. He was a very clever footballer, and as you can see, he wasn't the most physical fella, and time waits for no man. But this guy he was brilliant at it. Scrum half, you had the ultra competitive Derek Vincent. Like, this fella won the under-11 community games hurdles the year before, and now he was catapulting around with some of the planet's most physical athletes. Like, this guy was brilliant, And then at out half, you had Adrian Haw, part of the plantation in the 1600s. Haw was Protestant ascendancy, landowner type, little blonde hair, little Lord Fauntleroy, great guy, very successful. He actually married one of the Gregory girls, which was a massive achievement, and he was the star of the show, and he would go on to have a wonderful career with old Wesley. And this day would end with him kicking a wonderful drop goal. I'm going to go on to Popey, who'll talk a little bit more about the backs. They're great guys, Your guys on the wing like Des Jackson, this guy's a great athlete, one of the most physical guys you'd play against at the time, known as Desmond Tutu, because he invariably scored 2 tries for his own team, but unfortunately invariably scored 2 for the opposition as well. He wasn't the best defender in the game. And on the other wing, they had the mercurial Andrew Johnson. This guy would have been one of the world's best rugby players if there was no ball involved. He wasn't great under the high ball. It really was a case of red or black, and it often didn't go his way. But he was a great guy, very social guy, well known up in Club 92. And at fullback, of course, it was the great Niall Ferrin, really charismatic guy, Ferrin. He sang for Sweden in the Junior Eurovision when he was a kid. He went on to be a very successful goal kicker, a great guy and all. Everybody was fond of him. And midfield, like guys like Dermot Strong, who was very close to the coach, Kieran Callan. And they had a very interesting guy on the wing who came on, a guy called Paul Allen. He was a great character as well. He was actually having a Bacardi and Coke down in Kylie's, and he got a text message to come up and join the game. PA had a really good senior career, went on until the end of November that year when he decided to retire and pursue money and capitalism. And he was marking a buddy of Jim O'Callaghan's. So I'm going to put you on to O'Callaghan now. Listen, this was one of the great occasions for Irish rugby. This showed that Ireland could host major sporting events, and I think it was in my constituency as well. And this was a major sporting event. There was colleagues of mine from Cambridge, Tony Underwood, Andy MacDonald, and they were great guys. And I'd warned Underwood that he was marking potentially a guy called Paul Allen. Now, Allen was known as the Gallen Allen, and Underwood knew he was in for something very special if he came close to this guy, Allen, which he did in the second half as he scored 2 tries. But it was a wonderful game, and it'll last long in my memory. I think it was a piss-up that went on till the following Tuesday, and it was a sign that we can go on to host major events like the World Cup.